Previously on The Business.
It is The Business, brought to you by FNB Business Banking. Why not drive an FNB business account and test it for yourself?
Hello.
Hello, Joe.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Oh, this is a very bad line. I tried Joe on his mobile. He is from the London Economic, and we're going to be chatting to him about what's going on in the UK and the US. Hello, Joe. Are you there?
Yeah, here we go. Can you hear me better now?
There, that's
Much
brilliant.
better.
That's brilliant. Welcome to The Business.
Fantastic. How are you doing?
It's very good to have you on the show. We're really, really excellent. Thank you. And officially, I can welcome you as our first guest ever on the show. So it's good to have you here. Kriya picked up on your website, and I'm going to hand over to you because you were the person that kind of started this all with Joe, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Sorry, Joe, I picked up on your website and absolutely love it because we obviously looking at business the way that you guys look at it, which is a completely new and different way.
Yeah, but basically our idea was we work all for national newspapers working across features and business. We decided to set up our digital newspaper just because I think we find a lot of the business stuff very dry and it puts off people who maybe sort of younger people who want to get interested in business and politics, but maybe it's too wordy or there's not enough artwork with it. So if you look at it, you just be put off by a 2,000, 3,000 word article. Our idea is punchy 600-700 word articles, getting the main points across, and maybe the odd joke in there and a decent picture, just to sort of bring people in, to extend it out, because I think business affects everybody in the world in different ways. But it turns a lot of people off reading the sort of economics pages of the Daily Telegraph, for example.
Joe, in terms of what's going on in the UK at the moment, I mean, there's an old saying, I think, that goes, when the US sneezes, everyone else catches a cold. I'd like to talk to you about that for a minute because it is so topical, and I see the first story on your page, as I look at it here, is about Barack Obama and his back against the wall, titled "Barack Against the Wall." First of all, let's start with the UK. How's this all impacting you in the United Kingdom at the moment?
Well, at the moment, not a great deal. I mean, it's obviously nobody likes uncertainty, but I don't think it's really affected the American markets. They were up on Friday before the shut. They haven't opened yet today. European markets are down a little bit, but I think at the moment it's okay. At the minute, you can't visit the Statue of Liberty, that kind of thing. But I mean, really, that's an American problem. They're losing sort of $300 million a day. But it hasn't trickled down to us. I think the problem starts on the 17th of October if the Americans can't agree a deal and they can't pay their credit default payments, or the default on their credit payments, sorry, which would cause massive problems. I mean, they never have in their history. And obviously, as the world's biggest economy, that could send shockwaves through the world. That could sort of freeze credit markets. Value of the dollar could plummet. U.S. interest rates could skyrocket as well. So I think at the moment it's kind of everybody's holding their breath, just waiting to see what happens on the 17th. At the minute, it's business as usual, I think. Obviously, people aren't getting paid in America, but they've agreed that they will get paid eventually. So I guess at the minute it's kind of in a no man's land. I mean, it's about 10 days until the 17th, isn't it? So it's just kind of hold on tight till then.
How's the London Stock Exchange been affected, if at all? Have prices dipped? Share prices dipped initially on the news?
Yeah, it was down this morning when it opened at sort of 9:30. That was up across. Most of the markets were down a little bit, but I mean, I guess that's Monday morning and everybody's worked. You know what I mean? Everyone starts a bit slowly on a Monday, but I think they will rally later on. They've took a little bit of a hit, but it's only down a little bit. I mean, as we'll see as the day's trading continues, I think it will rally later on in the day as more news comes through from America. And I did see the 350,000 Pentagon staff returned to work today. So that's almost half of the people who were sent home. So that's got to be good news for the markets, I guess.
Quite an interesting story, which I picked up on earlier on today, is the things that are not allowed to be done and industries that are affected because of this whole shutdown. Apparently, checking government employees are not allowed to check their email if they've been affected by this. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's right. So if they did sort of go home and log on externally and try and do a bit of work, they'd be sacked. So very strange getting sacked for trying to do some work.
Crazy,
trying
isn't
to
it?
do work. But it's a crazy idea. But I guess the whole idea is it's a complete shutdown. You're not being paid. So I guess maybe you're not covered by sort of laws, because it might be sort of the laws that cover you when you are being paid might not count when you're not. So it might be something like that. But it does seem a bit crazy why you can't check your emails. But yeah, it's a strange one.
What the hell is Anthony Weiner doing with himself then?
Well, exactly.
I see the U.S. space station has been affected as well. The International Space Station, I should say, rather than the U.S. Because of the folks at NASA. They've all gone home. So there's a kind of skeleton crew looking after the International Space Station. I wouldn't want to be there at the moment.
Yeah, you don't want to be stranded out in space, and when you go back to sort of get some supplies, they said, well, we might be back today or maybe 3 weeks. Are you going to be okay up there? I don't think that'd be very good at all.
No.
But I think these things will always get sorted out eventually. I mean, Americans can't just let themselves go to the wall. I think the Republicans are making a big point and going to stretch it as far as they can. But I guess it's only going to affect them, because it's obviously they're the ones that everybody knows are holding things back. So they're only going to affect their electoral chances anyway. So eventually they're going to have to sort of agree to some kind of arrangement to get people back to work.
For sure.
Joe, I've just got a question here. It's Darren here, and I've obviously been watching and following this from the original, the first shutdown. As you say, the critical one's going to be on the 17th of October. And the more you watch it, the more, it's just politics at play here, where it's complete gridlock in Washington. The Republicans are not going to give an inch, and the Democrats are saying it's only a small handful of very ultra-conservative Republicans that are basically influencing Bono, and that he himself didn't actually want to do this in the first place. But the bottom line is, when these guys went to the election, and I mean the Americans have created this problem by actually putting in a Democrat president and a Republican Congress. This just makes for gridlock. When the Republican representatives from the different states went into the election, they basically campaigned on not supporting Obamacare. What have they got to do though now? Because as soon as they blink, and this is what it's become, first one who blinks loses. As soon as they blink, they're basically also shooting themselves in the foot as well. So they're in a corner. I mean, not only Obama with the back to the wall. What do they do?
Well, exactly. I mean, which I've argued in the article which went online today, that maybe the Republicans might be happy just to fight this one out, hope the Democrats give in first, and then even if they lose the next presidential elections, as long as Obamacare is not brought in, because they are massively morally and fundamentally opposed to it, as they are with gun control, then they might be happy to lose the next election as long as you can still carry a gun and you can't have universal health care. So possibly they might think they possibly might think it. So as long as you can get shot, but you can't obviously get any health care for it afterwards. So I think that's the problem they're looking for. But I do think the Republicans, it's what they stand for, especially the Tea Party movement. The idea of universal health care is kind of turns their stomach. So they might just dig in for the long haul and hope that the Democrats possibly might, as you say, blink first. But I guess this will all come to a head on the sort of day or hours before the October the 17th, I guess they'll probably hold out until the last couple of hours, and then at the last minute somebody will have to make a decision. But I guess it'll probably drag on until then.
If you've just joined us, we're chatting to Joe Mellor, who is from the London Economic. You can find them on the website, www.thelondoneconomic.com. Joe, I want to talk quickly about the UK economy, because when I lived there from 2009, 2010, that time, it started to enter a rather frightening slump. People weren't being employed. You walk down the high street of most small villages and towns, shops were closing, and there was general doom and gloom, not just in London, but in the UK. How's it looking now? Is it starting to pick up?
Well, I think, again, I'm based in London, hence the website, as we call the London Economic. But I'm from the north of the country, so I'll find in London the economy is picking up. A lot of Russian money, Arab money, Chinese money floods into London, pushing house prices up, which means that there's a house price bubble as there is already. So I think London is back to pretty much what it was pre-crash. I think if you leave London and the southeast, you could probably take in the counties that surround London, I think you wouldn't see that reflected. I think the high streets in major towns outside of London are still pretty bleak. Most of the shops have been replaced by, I don't know if you have them in South Africa, but kind of loans, payday loans, where you say you'd borrow £100.
Loan sharks, yeah.
And you'd pay back sort of, yeah, you might have in South Africa, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of them. So the high street, which used to sell sort of things you might want to buy, now just sells you money, basically. So you'll have a bookmaker, so put a bet on the horses, and you can go next door to borrow some money. So outside of London, I think it's quite, to be honest, it's still quite depressing. So as ever with England, because of the way our country is structured, London sort of leads and the rest follow on eventually. But at the minute, if you lived in London, I think you'd think everything was fine. If you lived in Newcastle, where I'm from, or Manchester, or Leeds, I don't think you'd have the same opinion. And I guess youth unemployment's still very high. So even though unemployment's dropping for the general population, if you're aged between 18 and 24, unemployment is rising. So for the young people in England, especially outside of London, it's not particularly a great place to be at the moment, unfortunately.
I have two more questions for you. Thanks for that. First of all, I want to know what's the feeling on South Africa? We always kind of look at ourselves and consider ourselves the powerhouse of Africa, but when you start to look at it from a European point of view, I mean, we're a tiny country down the bottom of Africa, which is kind of an afterthought a lot of the time. What are people feeling about that now? And also, I'm going to tag on the back of that the whole Kenya issue with the terrorist mall attack. Has that affected the thoughts and feelings on South Africa?
Of course. I mean, South Africa's always been the country, I guess, England sort of supported itself to. I mean, obviously, all the issues with apartheid, all that kind of thing, but it was always in the news for a long time. Obviously, Nelson Mandela's ill health now as well. So I think we always count South Africa, as you say, as the sort of the backbone of Africa. I guess the most business is done there. The World Cup did help as well. I mean, the vuvuzelas didn't help too much. Apart from the vuvuzelas, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, it's an emerging democracy. Like many sort of African countries, it's had a hard upbringing into sort of bringing itself in a developed world. But I think it is seen as somewhere you can do business, and although it's an unfair society in terms of wealth sort of distribution, I think people do think that compared to other African countries, it's probably less corrupt, that kind of thing. So I think the problem with the Kenya problem is it's just kind of the Muslim extremists in various flashpoints in the world, and it's just another place where people have got to be very careful now. I mean, Somalia has been a failed state for a long time, and obviously Al-Shabaab have moved into Kenya as a reaction to that. So it's just another place where you have to be very careful if you're Christian, if you're white Christian especially. There is a chance of attack at not any time, but it could happen. So if it does happen, what can you do? If you were shopping in the centre on that day, then unfortunately then you would have sort of felt the ramifications of what happened. You can't have 20 armed guards on every shopping centre in every part of the world. So I guess it's all the intelligence, and from what I've read, is they did have intelligence but didn't act on it, which is very worrying. That if they were told that could happen and didn't sort of bolster up security, then that's a worry for outside of Africa. I don't know if South Africa's had any kind of attacks sort of from Muslim extremists at all, but it would worry me in South Africa as well.
And I'm sure that affects sentiment as well when it comes to investment or tourism or everything else from the UK.
Of course, I mean, the chances of me going on a holiday to Kenya have lessened a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, that's not going to happen anytime
we ain't
soon.
gonna-
I'll go to Spain instead.
Sorry, I just quickly want to. I think you want to.
I actually wanted to ask Joe something. I saw a very interesting article.
Yeah.
Apparently, Buckingham Palace is hosting its first football match.
Yeah, I saw that as well. It's about time. 150 years on, I noticed that one of the teams is called the Civil Service FC. So in theory, the Queen could play. I was thinking, but she's not suffered a penalty or not taken a penalty since we started making her pay tax in 1992. So she might be a bit ropey on that one.
Are you talking about Scott Parker now?
Scott Parker, he could put a good. he could put a good tackle in on the Queen. Yeah, that could probably break a leg. And I thought Prince Charles is a bit wooden. He could possibly be a goal post, but I don't think he'd be very good. I don't think he'd be a very good outfield player, unfortunately.
Not to be nasty, but I think his ears might make it a bit wide, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I suppose he could plot the goal with his ears. We'll put Prince Charles in goal and the Queen up front, and then let's hope the civil service team wins.
And then Harry and William for a little bit of fun and entertainment on the field.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, Harry for the ladies, obviously. He can get himself a wag after the game.
And the half-time drinks.
Joe, final question before we go. We're running out of time, so I'm going to have to wrap it. And thank you very much for joining us this morning. Just a quick punt for the LondonEconomic.com. What can we expect in the next few days? What's coming up? What do we need to look at?
Well, what we're planning is we're writing something about the issue in Russia, obviously with the Winter Games coming up, and arresting people for piracy on the high seas, for Greenpeace. But also what we're looking for as well is a lot more foreign contributors. So if any of your listeners, or indeed yourself, Ian, want to put any articles through about how South Africa or anything has been affected, we are more than happy to listen to contributions from abroad. So Fantastic. If anybody does have ideas, please contact me on Twitter at @TheJoeMellor. And we will I will have a chat about any future articles from outside of the UK.
Fantastic. That's at the Joe Mellor. It's Mellor. You can go and follow Joe there. Right. And thank you very much for your time. I know that it is precious. So, Joe, thank you for agreeing to have a chat to us this morning.
Fantastic. Have a great day. Brilliant. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. That is Joe Mellor from the London Economic. Cheers, mate.
With his sexy voice.
You can catch him at thelondoneconomic.com. That is their website. And at the Joe Mellor on Twitter.
The Business. Weekdays 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on bulls.co.za. Brought to you by FNB Business Banking.